Imagine discovering you could disappear from anywhere and reappear somewhere else in the blink of an eye. No vehicles, no technology, just pure thought. Sounds like the ultimate superpower, right? Well, what if I told you that this gift comes with a death sentence? That there are people hunting you, people who believe your very existence is an abomination that must be erased from the earth? This is the terrifying reality of David Rice, a young man who discovers he can teleport anywhere in the world. But in a universe where such power exists, there are also those who have made it their life's mission to destroy anyone who possesses it. Welcome to the deadly world of jumpers and the ancient war that threatens to consume them all. Our story begins in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where 15-year-old David Rice lives a nightmare that many teenagers know all too well. His home isn't a sanctuary. It's a prison ruled by an alcoholic, abusive father who sees David as nothing more than a disappointment. The boy's mother abandoned them years ago, leaving behind only memories and bitter questions. At school, David faces a different kind of torment. He's the outcast, the target, the kid that bullies like Mark Kobold love to torment. But David has found something worth enduring the pain for. Millie Harris, a beautiful girl who dreams of traveling the world and seems to see past his awkward exterior. She represents everything good in his dark world, a beacon of hope in his otherwise miserable existence. One winter day, David's courage finally surfaces. David gives Millie a snow globe of the Eiffel Tower, knowing she dreams of seeing the world. But before the moment can go anywhere, a bully named Mark Kobold shows up. He mocks David, grabs the snow globe, and throws it onto a frozen river. Trying to prove himself, David walks onto the ice to get it back. The ice breaks beneath him. He falls through and begins drowning under the surface. Suddenly, he vanishes. David reappears in a public library, soaking wet and gasping for air. Shocked librarians stare as he stumbles out of the building, confused and silent. He walks home on foot in the freezing cold. At home, his father doesn't comfort him. He demands answers. David says nothing and heads upstairs to his room, locking the door. His father angrily tries to break the door down. Just before it gives way, David jumps again, reappearing in the same library. David now realizes this power is real. After a few moments, David jumps back home quietly. He sneaks into his room, quickly grabs a bag, stuffs in clothes and cash, and disappears again, this time for good. He begins testing the limits of his ability. He discovers he can teleport to places he's seen or studied in photographs. He can also take objects with him. One day, he visited the bank after seeing their vault. He decided to try it out one night. He jumped into a locked bank vault. He takes a stack of cash and jumps out. No alarms, no weaknesses. Over time, he repeats the process. Careful, quiet. He built a new life. 8 years later, the broken teenager we once knew has transformed into something entirely different. David is now living in a New York penthouse. His walls are covered with photographs from around the world. He's rich, confident, and alone. He jumps across the globe daily. London for breakfast, Fiji for surfing, Egypt for sunsets. He can go anywhere. The illusion of safety shatters when David returns to his apartment one evening after a day of hedonistic jumping around the world. Everything appears normal at first. His luxurious apartment is exactly as he left it. But something feels wrong. The air seems charged with tension, and David's instincts are screaming danger. Suddenly, Roland Cox appears in his apartment. Not through the door, but already waiting in ambush. This isn't another jumper. This is something far more dangerous. Roland is a paladin, a member of an ancient organization that has been hunting and killing people like David for centuries, and he's come prepared for war. Roland's presence fills the room with menace. He's not here to talk or negotiate. He's here to execute David, and he's brought specialized equipment designed specifically to neutralize teleportation abilities. Electrical weapons that can disrupt jumping, restraining devices that can hold a jumper in place. Roland has come prepared for war. The fight is brutal and desperate. David barely manages to escape, teleporting away just as Roland's weapons discharge. But he knows this is only the beginning. The paladins have found him, and they won't stop hunting until he's dead. Shaken and paranoid, David makes a decision that will prove to be either incredibly stupid or the most important choice of his life. Instead of running to some remote corner of the world and hiding, he decides to return to Ann Arbor. Maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's a need to feel human again, but David wants to see Millie one more time. Millie has grown into a beautiful woman, working as a bartender, but still carrying that same spirit that made David fall for her years ago. When David walks back into her life, she's initially angry about his sudden disappearance without explanation, but she's also curious about the mysterious, wealthy man he's become. But David's return to his hometown brings an unwelcome encounter. He runs into Mark, his old bully, now grown into an even more unpleasant adult. When Mark tries to start trouble in a local bar, David's temper flares. In a moment when no one is looking, he teleports both himself and Mark into a bank vault, leaving the terrified bully trapped inside while David teleports back to the bar. No one witnesses what happened. Mark simply vanishes, and David acts as if nothing occurred. It's a moment of petty revenge that will have catastrophic consequences. Mark is later found and questioned by Roland Cox, who has been tracking David's movements. The Paladins now know exactly where David has been and who he cares about. After dealing with Mark, David returns to Millie, desperate to reconnect with her and perhaps to feel some connection to his humanity. He invites her to travel with him to Rome, being careful to keep his abilities hidden and using conventional travel. For a brief moment, David experiences something he's forgotten: genuine human connection. Meanwhile, in Rome, David and Millie's romantic trip takes place completely conventionally at first. David is careful to keep his abilities hidden, making everything seem normal as they explore the city together. As David and Millie approach the ancient Colosseum, Griffin watches them from a distance, worried at how much trouble David was getting himself into. When they try to enter the Colosseum after hours and find it closed, David manages to unlock doors from the inside, telling Millie they were already unlocked. She's suspicious, but has no idea of the supernatural truth. But the Paladins have been tracking David, and they've laid a trap. Just as they were looking around, the main entrance to the Gladiator Ring proves more challenging. It's securely locked. After several failed attempts to force it open, David suggests Millie wait while he circles around to find another way in. Once out of sight, he teleports directly into the ring, where an unexpected encounter awaits him. Griffin emerges from the shadows, warning David against opening the door if he values Millie's safety. Griffin mocks David's casual attitude toward his abilities, treating his powers like a game. When David attempts to confront this stranger, Griffin demonstrates his own teleportation powers, leaving David stunned by the revelation that he's not alone in possessing these abilities. Griffin delivers a stern warning about the consequences of constant teleporting and introduces David to the terrifying reality of the Paladins, those who hunt their kind. Their conversation is cut short when two Paladin soldiers storm the area, launching an immediate attack on both David and Griffin. Griffin's combat experience shows as he effortlessly dispatches the attackers, but the commotion attracts a maintenance worker who alerts the local police. Griffin quickly teleports away, and David, acting on instinct, follows him through the jump scar, the dimensional wormhole left behind by their teleportation. The jump scar transports David to Griffin's desert hideout, a revelation that surprises Griffin, who warns David he shouldn't be there and urges him to return to ensure Millie's safety. Left with no alternative, David teleports back to the Colosseum to rejoin Millie, hastily escorting her from the building while deflecting her concerns with reassurances that everything is fine. Outside the Colosseum, David's troubles multiply when local police arrest him. He encourages Millie to return to their hotel, but she insists on staying by his side. At the police station, David faces interrogation about the disturbance at the Colosseum, denying any knowledge of the incident. The situation escalates when officers announce the magistrate's arrival, and David's interrogator confiscates his passport, ominously stating he won't need it where he's going. After the interrogating officer leaves, an unexpected visitor enters, a woman who gives David just 30 seconds to escape before the Paladins arrive. In a shocking twist, this woman reveals herself to be Mary, David's long-lost mother. She urges him to abandon Millie, warning that he's endangering her life, before disappearing without explanation. David pursues his mother, but is attacked by an officer. In a moment of desperation, he teleports the officer to the top of the Sphinx, handcuffs him there, and returns to the station. He quickly retrieves Millie and escapes under the pretense that police released him, and they flee to their hotel via taxi. Meanwhile, Roland receives news that his men have lost David again. Deciding on a different approach, Roland visits William's house, posing as an IRS agent. Through careful questioning, Roland learns that William last saw David 8 years ago and that the boy had few friends. Roland's attention is caught by a photograph of Mary, whom he recognizes but pretends not to know. When William claims Mary is his wife, pieces begin falling into place for Roland. William grows suspicious and asks Roland to leave, promising to contact him if David appears. But Roland, knowing William won't cooperate, attacks him instead. Back at Griffin's desert hideout, Griffin is gaming when David teleports in, desperate for answers about the Paladins. Griffin explains that he actively hunts Paladins, agents whose sole mission is eradicating jumpers like themselves. He reveals that Paladins have been hunting their kind for years and will eliminate anyone, including loved ones, to achieve their goals. Realizing his family is in danger, David teleports to his hometown, only to discover the Paladins have already gotten to his father. Though David immediately teleports his father to a hospital, it's too late. Grief-stricken and furious, David confronts Mark in prison, threatening to abandon him on Mount Everest unless he reveals what he told Roland. Under pressure, Mark admits to divulging everything: their hometown, Millie, all of it. Returning to Griffin's lair to borrow equipment for his revenge against Roland, David faces Griffin's discouragement. Griffin dismisses Roland as a waste of time, claiming he'll handle the paladin himself. David proposes they work together, but Griffin refuses and tells him to leave. David's persistence leads him to follow Griffin through a jumpscare to Tokyo's bustling streets, determined to convince him to form an alliance. There, David observes Griffin's advanced jumping techniques and learns that Griffin first teleported at age 5. By morning, David informs Griffin about Millie's incoming flight and makes one final partnership offer, promising they can go their separate ways afterward, regardless of whether he saves or loses Millie. Griffin agrees, and they teleport to the airport, only to discover Millie's flight landed an hour earlier. Griffin instructs David to find her while he returns to gear up at the lair. David was informed about a friend's visit at Millie's workplace when he went looking for her. Out of fear, he then rushed to her house, finding her safe but startled. When he tried to convince her to leave, Millie demanded he go due to his lies and secrets. Sensing paladin danger, David revealed he isn't a banker and all. Sadly, they were really running out of time. In an instant while the paladin was about to attack, and Millie being terrified at the same time asking David to leave her alone, David forcefully teleported her to Griffin's lair, but was unaware the paladins could track jump scars. David explained his actions to Griffin, who angrily warned about paladin tracking, but too late. Roland and his partner emerged through the jump scare. While hiding, David discovered Griffin's research wall about his mother, learning she's a high-ranking paladin official. His shocked reaction exposed their position. Roland's team deployed specialized wires that pinned David and prevented teleportation. Griffin attacked with a flamethrower, starting a fierce battle. Millie freed David from the restraints and begged him to take her home and leave her alone. Griffin returned claiming he trapped Roland and seized their equipment. A wire suddenly pulled Millie back to her apartment, where Roland used her as bait. Griffin prepared a bomb to destroy the apartment, accepting Millie as collateral damage. David opposed this plan, leading to a violent struggle for the detonator across multiple locations: Rome, Egypt, Tokyo, Empire State Building, and Chechnya, where David trapped Griffin between high-voltage cables. Despite Griffin's warnings, David disarmed the bomb and teleported to rescue Millie. Walking into Roland's trap, David got pinned again, but used his powers creatively, teleporting sections of Millie's apartment to their hometown lake. Then to the local library. In their final confrontation, David teleports Roland to a cave in the Grand Canyon, choosing mercy over murder. Days later, David tracks his mother to her snowy refuge, where he meets his half-sister and confronts Mary about her paladin identity. Mary confirms his suspicions and reveals that David first jumped at age 5. She explains her impossible choice years ago: kill her son or abandon him to protect him. She chose exile. Despite their opposing natures, Jumper and Paladin, Mary gives David a head start out of love, embracing him before he leaves. Outside, Millie waits for him in the cold. When she asks to go somewhere warm, David takes her hand, and together they teleport to their new life. Hope you guys enjoyed the recap. If you did, be sure to check out other awesome recaps on the channel. As always, thank you very much for watching.